Harland David Sanders was born on September 9, 1890, in a small farmhouse in Henryville, Indiana. His childhood was steeped in hardship. When Harland was just 6 years old, his father passed away suddenly. His mother, left with 3 children to raise, took work in a tomato cannery. That meant Harland, still a child, had to learn how to cook and care for his younger siblings. By the time he turned 10, he was already working on local farms to help support the family. School wasn't an option for long. Sanders dropped out by 7th grade to earn a living. He took on any job he could find: a streetcar conductor, a farmhand, a railroad worker, even soldier duty in Cuba for a short stint. None of it stuck for long, and none brought the kind of stability he needed. Through his teens and 20s, Sanders jumped from job to job. He sold insurance but was fired for insubordination. He studied law by correspondence and briefly practiced until he got into a violent courtroom brawl with his own client, ending his legal career. He tried his hand at running a ferryboat company, selling car tires, even operating a lighting company, but none succeeded. At age 19, Sanders married Josephine King, and together they had 3 children, Margaret, Mildred, and Harlan Jr. But life at home wasn't peaceful either. Constant moving, poverty, and long absences wore the marriage down. Josephine eventually left him, taking the children. The emotional cost was deep. Then tragedy struck again. Sanders' only son, Harland Jr., died in his early 20s from complications after a tonsil infection. It devastated Sanders. He was over 40 years old, divorced, grieving, and still living paycheck to paycheck. Most would give up. Sanders refused. In the 1930s, Harland opened a service station in Corbin, Kentucky, where he not only pumped gas but began serving hot meals to travelers. He converted a small back room into a cafe and started cooking: country ham, biscuits, and, what would become his signature, fried chicken. But Sanders wasn't satisfied with ordinary frying. He experimented with pressure cookers, a relatively new invention at the time, and developed a unique way to prepare chicken faster while keeping it juicy and flavorful. Then came the seasoning, a blend of 11 herbs and spices. Still a closely guarded secret to this day. Customers loved it. Word spread. His restaurant became a local favorite, and in 1936, the governor of Kentucky named him a Kentucky Colonel, a ceremonial title that Harland would proudly carry the rest of his life. Just when it seemed like success had finally arrived, disaster struck. In 1955, at age 65, the government built a new interstate highway that bypassed Corbin entirely. Sanders' restaurant, once buzzing with business, became a ghost town. With little money and no backup plan, he was forced to sell the property at a loss. Most men would call that retirement, not Sanders. He took his Social Security check and used it to hit the road. Again. Driving across the country with a pressure cooker in his trunk, he went from restaurant to restaurant, pitching his chicken recipe to owners. He offered a simple deal: use my recipe, cook it my way, pay me 5 cents per chicken sold. He was rejected more than 1,000 times. 1,009 rejections to be exact. But he never quit. Eventually one restaurant said yes, then another and another. By the early 1960s, Kentucky Fried Chicken was spreading across America. In 1964, at the age of 73, Harland Sanders sold the rights to his company for $2 million, worth more than $19 million today, while retaining control over quality and staying on as the brand's ambassador. He traveled 250,000 miles a year, shaking hands, inspecting kitchens, and ensuring the food met his standards. That white suit, the black string tie, and his Southern gentleman charm became global symbols. But beneath the image was still the man who had lived through decades of rejection, poverty, and pain. Colonel Sanders passed away in 1980 at the age of 90. At the time, KFC had 6,000 restaurants in 48 countries. His life wasn't shaped by early genius or luck, but by grit, reinvention, and an iron will to keep going. He didn't find real success until he was nearly 70. He built a global empire out of pressure, patience, and poultry. Colonel Sanders' real secret recipe wasn't just what went into his chicken, it was what he poured into his life.